Hello, hope you're doing well tonight. Hope you're staying warm. I wanted to talk to you about something before we do our Bible study. We're going to be in Mark 4 tonight, but wanted to let you know, I know that there is an impending threat of winter weather this weekend, and the question on a lot of people's minds are, will Ebenezer have service? Will we not? Our plan is, if we have power and everything's good, we will have a stream, okay? Uh, our plan is to have worship. And if you're able to be here, be here. Please do not come out if the roads are dangerous, especially if there's ice. Be very, very careful. And so we want to, we definitely want to encourage you, be careful. We will try our best to stream something. If it's really bad ice, we have no power, that will answer your question. So but we're still planning on trying to be here if we can. And I'm a hillbilly, so I have driven in snow probably more than some folks, but it's still very dangerous. And I haven't driven in snow in a long time. So, it's be careful if you do that. And anyway, and try to avoid your brakes. Try to avoid having to brake because you're going too fast. Maybe that's the way to say that, because that's where snow and ice will really get you. So if you drive in it, be careful. If the roads are dangerous, take that into account. If the roads are clear, come on, because we hope that we will have worship. So in Mark 4, beginning in verse 35, and leading up to that, Jesus is teaching parables by the Sea of Galilee, and he was finished teaching parables. He taught many parables according to verse 33, and it says he didn't speak to the crowds without a parable, but he was explaining everything privately to his own disciples. So in verse 35, on that day when evening came, he said to them, let's go over to the other side. Leaving the crowd, they took him along with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And there arose a fierce gale of wind, and the waves were breaking over the boat, so much that the boat was already filling up. Jesus himself was at the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing? And he got up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Hush, be still. And the wind died down and it became perfectly calm. And he said to them, Why were you afraid? Do you still have no faith? And they became very much afraid and said to one another, Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? So we see this picture of Jesus' teaching. He's not only teaching the crowds, he's explaining things to his disciples. The power of God is quite evident in his ministry. They get in the boat. They're going to the other side of a torrent, arises, which happens frequently on the Sea of Galilee. And waves are breaking over the boat. And Jesus was asleep. And the disciples woke him up and said, We're going to die. Teacher, don't you know? Don't you even care that we're going to die? And he got up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Hush, be still. And I think about that. And, for these disciples, several of the disciples were fishermen, and they had seen these kind of torrents before. And so, Mark doesn't give us this context, but I would think that Peter would have stopped anyone from waking Jesus if they were going, oh, we're going to die, and it really wasn't that bad of a storm. Peter been going, give it a break, guys. Peter, was that kind of guy. And I really believe that. But for them to wake him up, this was a scary storm. And he got up, rebuked the wind, and you think about this, and they walked away. He got up, rebuked the wind, and said, your faith is weak. Why were you afraid? Do you still not have faith? And they became very much afraid. Okay, so we base life on our past experiences. Most of us do. And we've been through storms, and we've seen difficulties. And we know when heartache is impending, and we know these things. And so we very quickly will jump like the disciples, and we forget to trust Jesus because we forget that he can make good things even out of terribly difficult things. And there are all kinds of things that you could speculate. They didn't have a wreck. What if they'd had a wreck? Perhaps Jesus would have risen them all up and they would have, well, we don't know. But he had them, and they didn't realize that yet. I hope you realize. I hope this weekend is good, and my prayer is that we don't have bad ice and we don't lose power, because bad things happen when things like that go on. But wherever you are and whatever happens, trust Jesus, lean into your family and your friends, and have faith. Hope you have a great week. Again, I hope to see you Sunday. And if nothing else, my plan is to see you here.